What's going on, sports card hobby family? We are back again, back at home. We are back from Mexico after almost a week. Got a little bit of sun, probably needed it to be honest, but we are back here and I'm glad to be with you all. Thanks very much for joining, for all your support. If you're new here, looking for daily sports card collectibles type videos, please hit that support button. Subscribe button. Support button? Can we rename it to the support button? Anyway, subscribe if you like what you hear. Today we're going to hit on two topics. The first around COMC and the second one, some hot takes by Rob Veras at Burbank Sports Cards. Very much worth sharing. Let's start with COMC.com. Channel partner, video sponsor, COMC.com. These guys, they've got some stuff cooking. Let's just say that they've got this announcement. They've got a few announcements leading up to the National, all of which I'm excited about. So pay attention to COMC.com. There will be more of this sort of thing coming out on this channel and then other places as well. All right, so COMC now has a direct to grading function to where they are somewhat acting as kind of like a bulk submitter. So instead of sending to your bulk submitter for CGC, no longer CSG, it's just all CGC right now. Currently, COMC only working with CGC. And trust me, man, I cannot wait for the day when really all four grading companies are represented on COMC. That will be awesome, just considering how popular the site is to buy and sell on. I mean, it's going to be great. So anyway, what they've got going right now is you've got a direct to grading option. Now, this is separate from sending in cards and then electing to have them graded later. This is a 7-day turnaround, but you've got to grade them if you're sending them in under this service level. And so you spend an extra $1 per card. And then of course it is the regular CGC rates is what it looked like, but it's that $1 surcharge to go through CGC, but having the nice ability to have it all in one place in COMC. A lot of folks are already buying and selling, doing a lot of transactions on COMC.com. So it makes it very easy to then just quickly kind of grade cards, turn them around. Also should clarify 1 week turnaround time for processing time at COMC. Then it goes out to CGC and then you've got the turnaround time through CGC. Now, another thing that's very critical, must send in semi-rigid card savers. So keep that in mind for this particular service level. For thicker cards, 130 point or higher, must send in top loaders. For raw cards, penny sleeve cards that are not sent this way will be processed regular service level, select service level. So that's a big difference if you kind of have a turnaround time that you're after. That's certainly something to keep in mind. You want to make sure you send them in properly so that they are processed correctly. So COMC, look at COMC doing a little direct to grading. And while I've been talking, I'll have kind of a little bit of a tutorial kind of showing walking it through the website. I thought it'd be easy just to kind of show it that way as I am talking. But like I said, this is one of a few announcements leading up to the National that COMC will have. Very exciting stuff. This is a long time reputable hobby company that is popular among hobbyists. So good to see this, and let's see where it goes from here. All right, second topic. Rob Veras sits down with It's Geoff Wilson on the It's Geoff Wilson show this week. I believe this is a two-parter as Geoff Wilson is out in Los Angeles visiting different collectors. Of course, he's going to go to Burbank and meet with Rob. You gotta really respect Rob just because this guy's been doing it for so long, long-time hobby shop, and they just continue to grind out smaller deals. They do larger deals, of course, too, but the one thing when you listen to Rob Veras, this is a long-term businessman. This is a guy that is not a get-rich-quick guy, and you've got to love that he probably made an absolute killing over the last few years during the pandemic and doesn't do breaking. He does not do breaking, and he had some very distinct words about breaking. Topic at hand was Fanatics 10xing the hobby, and this has been a consistent talking point for Rob here. I've noticed over the last months, and probably always has been. But he calls them, and I like this: fractionalized casinos will not 10x the hobby. Fractionalized casinos. That is such a great way to put kind of what a break is when you're getting into this. Fractionalized casinos. Moms are not interested in gambling. So you got to keep in mind, he's got all age groups that are coming through there, but they do a ton of kids nights and all these different things, trade nights and stuff that is under $10. He mentions here that you got to keep in mind that moms and dads, they're bringing their sons, daughters in here. They don't have a huge budget. I know we saw a lot, if you go back to the pandemic, you saw a lot of videos, Sasha T in there doing monster deals. We're selling $10,000 for this and $20,000 for that. Nothing against Sasha T whatsoever. That was just that's his shtick and what he's doing. He's had a lot of success as a dealer in the space. But if you really look into and listen to what Rob is talking about, that is not the meat of his business at all. That's a small part of his business, is the big high-end type stuff like that. But when you watch kind of the vlogs on YouTube, that's what gets a lot of the attention. And so that's what you see most of. And he mentions here moms and dads. And it kind of, honestly, it made me think of 1990. It made me think of when I was going to a card shop when I was a kid. I didn't have $50, $100. I didn't have $500 to buy a single. I was literally going through there every week, to get the Beckett magazine and to grab a couple of packs, and to also see what else was in that shop, because that was one of the only places. Remember, no eBay in 1990, no online marketplaces to go and view cards. Your local card shop was basically you scrolling on eBay. Whatever their inventory was, that was your hobby experience. And so, I think this is a great talking point here. And he mentioned sub $10 for young people. They've got to have a lot of inventory that is sub $10 for young people. And he did mention the experience Michael Rubin brought in when he had Devin Booker FaceTiming with the 12, 13-year-old girl that was in there that was going through the $1 Devin Booker cards. That is a type of stuff that does not get a lot of fanfare, doesn't get there's not a lot of focus around that on YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitter. It's just not. But if you listen to what Rob is saying, 10xing the hobby has nothing to do with breaks, has nothing to do with speculators and investors. There's a lot of middle-aged men and older, myself being one of them, where yes, we are collecting certain things. We're also speculating on certain things. I think, though, Rob would probably agree, or maybe not. I think that you can kind of have it both ways. I do think it's not a bad thing for the hobby to have some speculation and some investing that's tossed in here. Look, if you're buying a 52 Topps Mantle, you are investing in that card. You might be collecting it, but you're spending some serious cash to get into it. It is investment grade. So yeah, listening to this conversation, he just runs right through it. Distributors got filthy rich during the pandemic. It's okay to make money with smaller margins and grow your customer base. Hobby shops need to take a more long-term approach. Recent returns have been unrealistic, unsustainable, and we've talked about this on the channel. Many have. The pandemic provided an unrealistic perspective, viewpoint for a lot of young people and a lot of middle-aged people, a lot of people in general. It kind of gave the idea as sports cards collectibles and sustainably provide these sorts of numbers, and it just was not going to be the case. It had to end somewhere. You've got to have pricing stability. Volatility when a player does well or comes out of nowhere. Who's the baseball player for the Reds? Ellie. This is a guy like preseason. No one's really talking about him. All of a sudden now the guy's just lighting the world on fire. That sort of thing makes sense for price movement to go up. You've got excitement around a player that maybe wasn't expected to be great. On the other end of that spectrum, you've got Wembanyama in the NBA, where we're seeing autographs sell for $5,000, $7,000, $10,000, and the guy literally quoted out that wasn't really sure exactly what he was doing in that first summer league game, and he's going to get chewed up. Look, all these huge hype guys, it's really hard to meet those expectations. LeBron James is probably the only one going back. Michael Jordan had some hype around him, excitement, but not in the social media age. It just wasn't the same time. He was able to kind of progress without having a tweet about him every 2 seconds or an IG or whatever, a YouTube video. LeBron James is really the guy that has met that hype, but Zion and, Wemby, these guys have a huge road ahead, and I'm not going to pretend like it's easy. These guys get a lot of flack and, pushback, but tons and tons of pressure. Rob would like to see more rewards around collecting behavior. They talked about this. Bounty systems for smaller cards. I like that. So you always hear about, $500,000 bounty for this hit or $1 million bounty for that. what if there's just a $50 bounty on whatever Devin Booker card that's coming out of the new product? That's pretty cool. That's something that I like that he brought up. But I think what Rob is hitting on is the majority of the hobby is not operating at the high level, and his store is a perfect example of that. The guy's got tens of millions of cards in inventory that he's selling, moving this inventory around. And he does not have Jeff Bezos in there buying, 50-cent cards, dollar cards. It is the local folks. It's the people that are just the average collector hobbyist that are looking to get in and pick cards of their favorite players. And maybe there's some speculation in there. You're buying a $2 card, hoping it becomes a $4 card, in the same way that I was speculating as a 9-year-old at times. That is part of the fun of it. But biggest thing he says, and I love the phrase, I've never heard anyone else say it, fractionalized casinos will not grow the hobby. It's basically 90% of people getting in and having an average to bad experience, buying into a break, getting nothing or very little out of it. Whereas if you go in and you've got a $5 budget for particular cards and you're able to get 12 cards of your favorite player, that's a better experience. And that's what he's saying, if we can do that over and over and over again. And what he is excited about Fanatics, and this is the elephant in the room. This is the elephant in the room, really, because we've heard this quite a bit. We've heard this quite a bit as far as converting sports fans to sports card collectors / hobbyists. That is the huge challenge that Fanatics has in front of them. And that is why Rob is bullish on Fanatics at this point, is because they've got the marketing dollars and the capital and the want to grow the collector base. And that is going to be the biggest challenge. That'll be the thing we look at in 10, 20 years as far as, was this whole thing successful or not? Will they be able to convert over baseball fans? I've heard of different marketing campaigns where they're giving little leaguers cards or handing out Topps baseball cards to little leaguers to expose them to sports cards. This is going to be the big test. And that is something that, as we look back, 20 years from now, we look back on this video or this time period, it's going to be, did it grow? Did it not grow? Did people care? Did they not care to become more mainstream the same way that it was in 1990 during that last kind of boom that was more organic? That was more of an organic boom than what we saw over the last few years. All right, the last thing that they touched on that was interesting was the new hobby rules for card shops for allocation from Fanatics / Topps. His direct quote, "I felt like I wrote it." So he likes it. And he says, why should Topps give you allocation to immediately sell, essentially basically mark it up and sell to other dealers, or just mark it up and sell? You are a retailer and you should be getting the product out to the public at a suggested retail price. Maybe you've got to mark up a little bit of a markup, but 3 to 5x, on something on a box, it's just not sustainable. And why would Topps be excited about that sort of stuff? And he comes right out and says, people have been given a living, have not earned a living. And look, when you look at some of this stuff that's out there, there's been a lot of free money floating around. And again, going back to distributors got filthy rich, or were you in with the distributor? Not to say that it's shenanigans, but it is to say that for people that probably had good relationships with distributors, they probably got some free money in the form of allocation, and maybe a lot of this sort of free money from cheap or extra allocation, whereas others might have been doing an amazing job but didn't have that sort of relationship with the distributor. I think if you're the little guy out there, or if you're a small business, you are not going to be happy to hear that sort of thing. So again, not surprising at all that Fanatics Topps has moved to more of a direct relationship thing, cutting out distributors. And I don't want to say all distributors are bad in this. There's necessary stuff here, but it's clear, especially over the pandemic, it was a huge profit center for distributors. So I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily that Topps Fanatics setting up direct accounts and you're working directly with them, and prove yourself, you are rewarded. And so for those that are like, I just don't know where this hobby is going, these parts, they look good. If you're a hobbyist, you have to like this. But I will end on this note. The thing that concerns me, and Rob is obviously not a sports betting guy. He's not a big breaker guy, breaks guy. He's not a fan of it. It's clear. It also seems pretty clear that Fanatics sees it as a profit center. So which is it? What's it going to be? Is there going to be a huge focus on more collecting, rewarding, collecting behavior or stuff like that? Or is there going to be more of a big reward? Is there going to be more focus around marketing on the sports betting, sports gambling side of the sports card hobby? Which one is it going to be? Is there going to be more of one or the other, or that I think that we need to pay attention to as we move forward? All right, guys, I will put a link down to the show, the It's Geoff Wilson show, so you can see this interview if you haven't already. But Rob Bear is one of the smartest guys in the hobby and worth a listen. I think there'll be a part 2 as well. Definitely check it out. Guys, stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.